Hey, it's Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and we are doing the upcoming February and March Kickstarters. And I know that it's currently halfway through February, and that's because I did my upcoming Kickstarters of 2020 video, and overall I found it very useful just for me alone to start getting myself ahead of the curve and prepping and whatnot. And that, combined with the people who have asked me to do these kinds of videos in the past, means I am going to be aiming to do a monthly video of upcoming Kickstarters. I have a whole list and tracking and all these different things, and I'll probably be trying to do a full monthly video towards the end of each month covering the next month and what's happening. Things change rapidly in the Kickstarter world. Dates get pushed off, dates get adjusted, new things show up a week in advance. And so if you want to get any of that, if you want to get weekly updates on Kickstarter, I recommend checking out Shelf Clutter. I'll include a link to his channel down below. He does a he does a weekly video every single week of what's coming up on Kickstarter. And speaking of which, if you are a publisher, he has a list where you can join in, jump on. I'll include a link to that down below. And if you want to basically submit your information in terms of making sure you will be covered, making sure your information is there, covered, accurate, all kinds of good stuff. And with that, let's jump into February and March. You can expect the next one of these videos towards the end of March, covering all the April Kickstarters, and we have plenty. Now, this is not going to be a fully comprehensive list. Again, Shelf Clutter is a good reference for that if you want that. I do skip anything that does seem to be very much on the smaller side with minimal interest, at least as of now. There needs to be at least some degree of something for me to throw it on, because otherwise, this video will be 2 hours long, and I only have 1 cup of coffee, and I would need more cups of coffee. So, with that, we have Stroganov. Stroganov, it sounds like a food to me every single time. But this is a game designed by Andreas Stedding, who's done other games that I know. I think I've done this before. This is on the last list I covered. Lots of new stuff, by the way. So if you watch my upcoming 2020 Kickstarters, there's going to be lots of new stuff. This link is not loading. I don't know why. We'll just go ahead. But yeah, Stroganov's going to be a game designed by, it's got its action point, area movement. It's just going to be a game brewer game. And this is coming to Kickstarter. I should have my list up on the sidebar. This is coming to Kickstarter on February 15th. So today, it's coming to Kickstarter today. So you'll find out more information shortly. From there, we have Lawklivya Vengeance, which does look to me, it looks to me like it's a card game, but it's not a card game. This is a cooperative worker placement game coming to Kickstarter on February 16th. And this is, like I said, Lawklivya Vengeance. I don't know much about the game past the worker placement cooperative stuff, but you can take a look tomorrow, because coming to Kickstarter tomorrow. And a bunch of these, by the way, are coming to Kickstarter tomorrow. Speaking of which, next up we have Bloodstone, February 16th. Again, the next batch of these are all February 16th. Bloodstone's coming to Kickstarter tomorrow, and this is going to be by Druid City Games, James Hudson. This is an arena control, cooperative, and competitive game. I do have coverage of this game coming out, both a playthrough on Quacklow's channel, as well as a review on my channel of the game. I have played it both cooperative and competitive. I will save my thoughts for those reviews, so you actually have a reason to watch, but I like it. I like it. There I go again. But anyways, Bloodstone, February 16th. Keep your eyes peeled for this one. This is a solid game. Absolute ton of fun. Again, February 16th is going to be Factory Floor. Factory Floor is going to be a polyomino game, little light polyomino game coming to Kickstarter on February 16th. Then we have Paladins of the West Kingdom City of Crowns. If you have followed any of the Garphill games series, Shem Phillips and whatnot, from all the original Raiders of the North Sea trilogy to now we have the Architects and the Paladins, we have a whole bunch of games, all taking a ton of mostly worker placement across the board. Although Paladins has worker placement as a small aspect to it, it's more other stuff going on. Paladins is one of the heavier ones he has had, and this is going to be the expansion City of Crowns coming to Kickstarter. Then, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. This is going to be a Terraforming Mars card game, which Terraforming Mars already is a card game. This almost kind of looks like they combined, like they took Terraforming Mars and Race for the Galaxy and combined them into one game. The game looks interesting. The art on the cards, let's see if we can find some card art. Here we go. The art on the cards is significantly better than what you're used to seeing in Terraforming Mars. This actually looks like someone took the time to put it together. Although that being said, I give Terraforming Mars a lot of garbage. I don't actually care. I mean, the game's quality and components could definitely use an update, but it borders on to the extent of cheesy that I actually find it mildly entertaining to look at the space elevator and who knows what else they have. So I'm actually amused by Terraforming Mars. That said, I definitely look forward to a Terraforming Mars universe game that has better art as well. I like having both, and Ares Expedition is one that, well, I'm looking forward to it. I may or may not have coverage on this one. We'll see how it goes, but that's Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. From there, February 16th, again, we have Beasts of Balance Rebirth. If you ever played Beasts of Balance is a game, and by the way, I'll include links to whatever I have down below. Sometimes it's going to be a Kickstarter launch page like this, and other times it will just be information where you can potentially navigate towards whatever magical page you need. But Beasts of Balance is going to be a stacking game, like one of those, kind of like Junk Art or anything like that, but it integrates with an app, so as you stack things things happen in your world. So it's a very interesting, like they call it Jenga meets Pokemon. There's that aspect of collecting different beasts or creating different beasts. A very intriguing concept to combine the two. For myself, I have no personal interest, although I've heard good things across the board. Not across the board. I've generally heard good things about this game. Seems like an intriguing little puzzle if you like that kind of thing. I mean, if Jenga meets Pokemon appeals to you, sounds like a good deal right there. Then, on February 16th, the last of the February 16th, we have Vault Wars Relic Roadshow. This is going to be an expansion for Vault Wars, which I find fascinating. This is by Floodgate Games, and this is going to be an expansion to a game that came out in, let's see if this link will load. What is wrong with my links today? This link is just my internet or something. I don't know what's happening here. But Vault Wars, apparently, if it loads at any point, is going to be a 2015 game. So 6 years later, for a game that doesn't have a huge following. I mean, this game's a 6.9. It has, 1,900 people who have this marked as owned. That is not a huge game. So I'm very intrigued as to what happened in the conversation that led to this being reprinted on Kickstarter. That being said, I certainly don't mind it. I'm just curious. February 17th. We're going to have Block and Key. There are 2 games on February 17th, one of which I am more interested in than the other, but we'll get to that shortly. Block and Key is going to be the first of these games. This is by Inside Up Games, and Man vs. Meeple has a great video on this. You can watch that. But this is going to be a game where you play the game from different sides. So you have the top and the bottom, and the top is because they want to give you that eye-level view, because you're going to be matching up your perspective, your aspect of what you can see. So, for example, this photo over here gives you a view of the various tiles, and you have these challenge cards that you're trying to make this view match those challenge cards, which means every time a player places something, they are both affecting their own view, as well as potentially helping or hurting the other players as well. On your turn, you will either take more tiles, so more of these pieces you can lay out, and or more cards as you accomplish them, and you place them on the board. So looks like an intriguing thing. And that view over here, this is the game box. They're going to have the game box is going to turn into this little tower situation that you can hook together, and that way look at it at eye level instead of having to like peer down to see how things play out. But that's going to be Block and Key. Keep your eyes peeled for that coming to Kickstarter. Obviously, maybe, yes. We have February 17th. I think it's February 17th, or maybe it's February 16th. I don't actually know. On the 16th or the 17th, we are going to have Zombicide, Undead or Alive. I mean, look at this. This is Zombicide. This is more Zombicide. This is more Zombicide. February 17th. So I got it right the first time. You see that? February 17th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is Zombicide, Undead or Alive coming to Kickstarter. This is going to be Zombicide if it were a Western, effectively. So if you, I don't know why I lost the link page, we'll ignore that. But Zombicide is as if it were a Western, is coming to Kickstarter, and this is one where I can't use words. This is one that I've played on Tabletop Simulator already, and overall I can tell you that I enjoy it more than I do Invader. Invader to me, if I move my head that way, Invader to me is for me the ugly step-headed child of the Zombicide universe. It's not that it's bad, it's that I'd rather play Black Plague or Green Horde every single day. I still keep Invader because I have hope that if I try it in different configurations, maybe my mind will change. But I will say from play one, which I only have one play, I do prefer Dead or Alive so far. It does speak to me more about the things I like, although Black Plague is currently still my favorite, at least as of now, one play in. That said, I am interested in the miniatures and the theme and the this and the that, and you absolutely 100% do not need it. If you have a ton of other Zombicide, what is this one doing differently than all the rest? And yet I'm still getting it because I like Zombicide, and there's nothing you can do about that. February 22nd is going to be Roman Roll Gladiators by David Terraforming and Nick Shaw. This is an expansion to Roman Roll. Roman Roll is one of the heavier roll and write games out there, introducing like a whole full game, but with, roll and write and stuff in that. And Roman Roll Gladiators is going to be coming to Kickstarter the 22nd. This is one that was pushed off, but it'll be showing up on Kickstarter, so you can jump in on that if you want to. Again, on February 22nd, we have Fjords. Fjords, that's not true. February 23rd, we have Fjords, which is going to be a reprint of an older game. Fjords is like, 2006? I don't even know. We'll find in a second as soon as that loads. But this is going to be a reprint and adjustment to the game. So they're going to be, adjusting the rules to some different degree, adding modules by Phil Walker Harding. Phil Walker Harding is the man, and so I appreciate that offhand. And Fjords, if this page loaded, is a 2005 game. A 2005 game getting a reprint. This one has 3,500 people who have marked it as owned, but I mean, this is an older game. This has been out of print for a while. It's not an expansion, it is a reprint. The art looks gorgeous. Phil Walker Harding is awesome. Franz Benno Delange is, nothing against him, I just don't know his name as much. Honestly, I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. This is published by Grail Games, and overall, I'm intrigued. Fjords was always a game to me that I liked, didn't love, moved on from it, and like many other games that we've seen reprints of recently, there's been a lot of reprints. Like many others, I'm intrigued. I'm not necessarily sure if I'm getting it because I already did play it, but I'm certainly intrigued by Fjords. From there, we have Root. Root is going to be coming to Kickstarter on the 23rd as well. This is going to be an expansion to Root, and if this thing does not cross $1 million, I will just drink more coffee. If it does cross $1 million, I will still drink more coffee because I just like coffee. But Root is going to be an expansion. This is going to be adding 2 new factions, although they are suited more specifically to the 2-player game, which, I mean, I guess this year is probably a good year to give people 2-player expansions to Root because we're all stuck at home with our limited options to play our games, and a 2-player expansion to Root, hopefully. This actually, I take it back. This game better not be useful, because if it's still useful by the time it actually lands at your doorstep, it means we're still stuck at home, and that's not okay. So, this game is hopefully not in the slightest bit useful to anyone who is dealing with COVID or whatnot. But that being said, dealing with not so much COVID as, being isolated, quarantining, all that stuff. So Root is the Marauders expansion, and there's a whole bunch of designer diaries you can read into them, but effectively, like I said already, 2 more expansions to Root, 2 more factions, as well as some other aspects like miniature factions or mini faction thingamajiggies and stuff. I know Root, I play Root, I have all the expansions and collection stuff on my shelf, and I like it. I do like Root. Anyways, that is going to be Root. I don't know what I do. 23rd, on the 23rd, we have Chamber of Wonders coming from Ludus Magnus Studios. This is one that I will be covering as well. This is going to be, well, I mean, it's a card game. It's almost akin to 7 Wonders with a degree of worker placement as you place your agents in different spots to get different benefits, and a degree of passing cards around and trying to figure out what you need. Overall, looks intriguing. I'll let you know when I actually play it because I haven't gotten that far yet. And that's going to be coming to you on the 23rd. Next up on the 23rd, we have Tiny Turbo Cars. This is going to be by Horrible Guild, the same people who brought you a bunch of things like Railroad Inc., like Dungeon Fighter, like all that stuff. And this looks like a little racing game where you have these little gizmo thingamajiggies that you have to move around. Remember those little puzzles that you have to like slide? I mean, look at the screen. You can see what I'm talking about. You slide things around, try to figure out what you're doing there. You're going to be using these as almost controllers or whatnot. Looks like an intriguing premise. I don't know where it'll land in terms of who the target audience is. The game, the art looks great. The concept looks puzzly but gimmicky and or innovative. The word gimmicky and innovative can be interchangeable at times, and where they actually end up takes time and practice. No, just time. It takes just time. Coming up as well on the 23rd is going to be Orconomics. I'm going to keep saying that word. Orconomics, which is the 2nd edition launching on the 23rd. Orconomics is a game that looks amazing. It's a economic game, it's stuff, and I don't know that much more about the game, but this is coming to you by, who's it coming to you by? Ares Games is bringing the 2nd edition of the game to Kickstarter, so you can take a look at it. 2 to 5 players, chaotic economic world of modern orcs, which is something that you always, I mean, look at this, I love this little orc boss over here. This is not loading again. Nope, image failed to load. That's a thing. But anyways, this boss over here on the cover looks kind of cool. I gotta say, I like an orc in a suit. It looks very, very admirable. Then on the 23rd as well, we have Candy Wars coming to Kickstarter. The 23rd, the Candy Wars is going to be by 4 Fun Games, I think, if I'm doing it correctly. 4 Fun Games, which is a sister company to CGS, Creative Game Studios. Those are the people who brought you Chronicles of Junagar, which is one of the most excited Kickstarters that I am excited about. And Candy Wars is going to be targeting more of an Arcadia quest. I can't tell 100% if this is targeting more of a younger audience. It says fast-paced family fun, and it's obviously Candy Wars, but then they call it Arcadia Quest, and I tend to think of Arcadia Quest as being family-friendly, but also more heavier gamers. So I'm not entirely sure where it ends up landing. We shall see. It does come with both. Well, first of all, it comes with this guy who is definitely not anyone you recognize in the slightest at all. Don't pay attention to the man with the eye patch. Do not. And anyways, moving on, it has a cooperative and competitive mode to the game. You're going to be dealing with these 3D tower thingamajiggy stuff, and those 3D towers, you're going to be moving your people up and down, shooting each other, leveling up, rolling dice. When you roll dice, you start upgrading your sugar rush or something, so you might miss or whatnot. When you miss, you upgrade your sugar rush, which means you're more likely to hit or get better for results next time. And then as well as that, there's a cooperative mode where you'll upgrade and get equipment and gear and different things. Overall, that's basically Candy Wars coming to Kickstarter the 23rd. Then we have Ragnarokks. This is going to be the last game coming to Kickstarter the 23rd. Ragnarokks is going to be by Grey Fox Games. This is by Gord. I think it's pronounced Gord with an exclamation mark. I want an exclamation mark at the end of my name. Ooh, we should add that in the Weekly Quack. I want an exclamation mark at the end of my name. I'm taking notes. The Weekly Quack is my podcast with Quacklope. I'll include a link to that down below. In fact, there's always a link to it down below. But basically, that is a podcast where we talk about things, and one of the fun little jokes we have is my ever-expanding name. I am Alex Randolph. That's going to be Randolph with an exclamation mark. We're gonna make it happen. But Ragnarokks is, like I said, by Grey Fox Games. No real art or anything of the board that you can see over here, but it's a 2-player area control game that has, I would say it's a combination of Terra Nova and Santorini. Now, Terra Nova is a game, it's actually, I mean, for better or for worse, Terra Nova, I think, is the worst ranked game on BGG that I own, I believe. But I love it. I think it's great. I love Terra Nova and Santorini as well, and so it's a combination of those 2 games because you have kind of aspects of Terra Nova, different, not the same, but aspects of that abstract strategy game of area control, of trying to lock people in, move, lock, creating these massive blocks around the board, and then combine that with Santorini, where you have different roles that shift up the game, so each player gets assigned a role that gives them some magical power. Basically the same idea as Santorini. The original Santorini was just an abstract game, and then they took that and added roles and things to make it interesting and remove the pure repetitiveness of the game. And so Ragnarok's is doing the exact same thing. I am intrigued. I will be covering this one. I'm looking forward to getting the actual game in my hands, but basically I already played this online. Really like it. Like I said, for me it felt like a combination of two games that I love and own. And so yeah, I'm hyped for that. Then coming up from there, we have March 1st, which is So You've Been Eaten, which is actually on the table behind me. So You've Been Eaten will be coming. This is by, not Ludi Creations. Ludi Creations. See, I always want to say Ludus Magnus Studios because the Ludi just throws me off, but it's by Ludi Creations. They brought you a few games, including On the Underground. They got you the reprint of On the Underground, other games as well, and So You've Been Eaten is a 0 to 2 player game. I am baffled by that, but literally the box says 0 to 2 players. I don't know who the 0 is, but I haven't seen the game set up yet. I've just been leaving it here hoping that eventually someone would set it up, one of those zeros, but still absolutely nothing. So eventually I'll just have to read the rules and get over it. But yeah, this is Ludi Creations. Like I said, Ludi Creations, So You've Been Eaten, a 0 to 2 player game with a great name and an intriguing player count. Coming up from there on, we have March 2nd is going to be Meeples and Monsters by AEG. This is going to be a meeple game, I guess it's called Meeples and Monsters, and this is an interesting one. Whenever you have a theme where it's like straight up calls out the Meeples and Monsters, I don't think any of them have ever done particularly amazingly well. I mean, throwing meeples in a name, I don't know if it's ever done amazing. I think the closest thing is probably going to be Rampage. What's it called? What's the other name? Terror and Meeple City. Terror Maple City. Actually, so Terror Maple City, that's actually not bad. So Terror Maple City did do well. So I take it back, ignore everything I just said. Meeples and Monsters looks like it's going to be a Kickstarter game, a bag building game where you have to place down these meeples down in various locations to get various benefits. This is by AEG. AEG generally produces good games. The question is whether this is going to be a good or a great game. We will have to see. It's designed by Mike Mullins, who's the solo designer for Lagoon, Tassimasi, Castle Dice. Castle Dice, that was a game that, wow, Castle Dice has been a long time since I played Castle Dice. That's one that I'm always surprised didn't do better. It didn't have lasting staying power. But in any case, Meeples and Monsters coming to Kickstarter on March 2nd. Then from there we have the Night Market. This is going to be a game brought to you by Talon Strike Studios. They are the ones behind a few games. They're behind, the most famous one they are behind is Vinyl, and then they also are behind the Shadow Network, which I covered the Shadow Network, and I am also covering the Night Market. The Night Market is a game that I'll tell you right now I do like it. I'll tell you how much later, but overall it's actually interesting. Shadow Network is a game that I actually really like. That's not true. I thought Shadow Network was a solid game that had mechanics that don't appeal to me as much in terms of a tighter economy of having to like min-max your way towards a final end game. The Night Market's actually very different. While there's still min-maxing, still strategy, still whatever, I actually enjoy the puzzle a lot more and find it a little bit more freeing. I don't feel constantly restricted to eking out every single point. That said, it's not a high-scoring game. In fact, you get more points in Shadow Network. But for something about it, I don't know exactly what it is. Both of them I think are solid games, but Night Market is one that I do want to add to my collection versus Shadow Network is one that I was ready to move on from. But again, this came into Kickstarter on the March 9th, and it's an intriguing one. It's basically, there's two phases to the game. I'd ignore all this stuff because this is all prototype. The board and stuff looks much better than that. But the two phases to the game are basically sending your workers or your whoever to buy various goods so you can then sell it at your own individual night market, and then acquiring customers and stalls and trying to manage the various abilities of everything there. Manage your food acquisition, manage your customers, manage your stalls, and together through all of them, effectively sell the right goods to the right people, earning yourself more money so you can reinvest into more chefs, more stalls, more customers, all that kind of stuff. It's basically just running a business. And if you're running a business during the day and you want something relaxing and fun to go home to at the end of the day, you can go home and run a business in the night market. I like it. I jest around. From there, we have March 9th is going to be Hit the Silk. I have nothing here, but if I scroll down, we have Hit the Silk, a daring $100,000 heist game. I do not know much about this game at all, unfortunately. This is going to be by Escape Plan Games. They had stopped the train on Kickstarter. I don't know if that actually landed yet, but overall that was an intriguing one. And Hit the Silk, I don't know anything about it, but coming to Kickstarter, I believe, March 9th. And then from there, we have Mythic Battles Ragnarok. This is one that I have no interest in, unfortunately. That's not entirely true. I would love to add the whole thing to my collection, but I feel overwhelmed by Mythic Battles, and I didn't like it enough to dive down heavily into it. This This is coming to Kickstarter March 23rd. Keep in mind, by the way, March, I don't have as much information on a lot of the dates. So I have a bunch of dates, and I have a bunch that are just listed as potentially March. We'll go through all those. But this is the problem. Again, really, even if you go a month out, you just start not having all the information, which is why you should subscribe to Shelf Clutter, who has weekly information to keep you up to date. And so, yeah, Mythic Battles Ragnarok. This is going to be Mythic Battles in the new theme or whatnot, giving you a ton more miniatures. I'm sure there'll be changes to the gameplay or whatnot, or additional rules, or all those things. Same idea as, Zombicide. Whenever you have a new universe, there's always something different or whatnot. Speaking of which, Zombicide does have some new stuff, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Mythic Battles Ragnarok. And from there, we'll move on to Lasting Tales, coming to Kickstarter on March 30th. This is going to be by Blacklist Games, and this is going to be bringing you a cooperative tabletop miniatures game utilizing the miniatures from Fantasy Series 1 that they did. If you back Fantasy Series 1 like myself, hoping you would have a game to go along with it like myself, then you're in luck, because Lasting Tales will be coming to the table or something. They also will be having Fantasy Miniature Series Line 2, I think. I'm pretty sure they do. Including compatible miniatures in the form of Fantasy Series. We offer exclusive price points, including an optional set of compatible miniatures in the form of Fantasy Series 2, the next in Blacklist Initiative's line of sets. Which makes me question everything I just said about utilizing your Fantasy Series 1 set. Because apparently maybe it's just utilizing Fantasy Series 2. I don't know. We'll find out later. Moving on from there, we have Longshot coming to Kickstarter March 30th. This is going to be Longshot, the dice game. It's a roll and write. This is brought to you by, I don't know, it's Chris Handy of Perplexed. It's a company called Perplexed, I guess so. They brought you Roll and Write. That's it. That's the name. Roll and Write. The name of the game is called Roll and Right. But anyways, Longshot the dice game. I will hopefully covering this one as well, and it's coming to Kickstarter March 30th. This is a re-implementation of Longshot, but abstracted to a roll and write, which means it's a totally different game at the end of the day, but it is using the same designer. So the same designer combined with another designer, I believe, different company, all different kind of stuff. Longshot the dice game. From there, we move into the vagaries of March-ish. That's it, March-ish. So we have Quodd Heroes coming at some point in March, supposedly. Again, this one has been pushed off a few times, so it may well be pushed off. But Quodd Heroes will be having a second edition, including pre-painted quads. So pre-painted quads are on the table in case you wanted those quads, but you wanted them to look, well, pre-painted. Then they may well look pre-painted if you keep an eye for the Quodd Heroes second Kickstarter, second edition. I don't know what else is coming. I don't know if there's inserts. I don't know what new content there is, but I do know there's pre-painted miniatures. I also know there's an upgrade pack. Don't know exactly what that will contain, but I mean, I hope it contains pre-painted miniatures. That'd be cool, right? But Quodd Heroes, I love this game. This game is on my shelf. It is a bit hard to pull out, but when I do, it is so much fun to tumble around and figure out the puzzle and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that plays out. Then again, in March, we have V-Commandos redeploying in 2021. I should do a review of this game. I will do a review of V-Commandos. Basically, V-Commandos is a game I love, have it on my shelf, and I think I'll do a review because I guess people will probably want to see a review now there's going to be a new Kickstarter coming out. But the important part is they are bringing you miniatures. I don't know why that's the important part. That's not important at all. The important part is that a great game that has been hard to get is going to be more available. That's the important part. But additionally to that, there's also going to be miniatures. So if you're excited about miniatures in your games, if you didn't like those little tokens, well, you can check out this Dicebreaker article. I will link to it down below. But effectively, they are bringing you new content, new reprint, plus miniatures to V-Commandos, which is the original system behind before we got to Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed, which is delayed, but hopefully coming soon. V-Commandos is going to be the original before that happened. Then, again, in March, we have Theurgy, the area control game of Monsters and Miracles. This is one that I got on my radar because I was talking to the Hungry Gamer. I'll include a channel link to him. Feel free to subscribe to him as well. But he really raves about this game. He adores Theurgy. He thinks it's a great game. It is one that was on Kickstarter. I believe it was canceled, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it says over here, a relaunch. It's a 1-6 mid-weight strategy game, which you'll be moving your, cultists around while you try to abandon hope in the old gods and try to get the people to believe in you again. It looks interesting. I watched the video on it. Overall, the system that they have here does look interesting. It looks intriguing. I'm very interested in this one. I'll see how it actually plays out, but color me interested at least for right now. Then again, potentially in March, but potentially later, we have the relaunch to Velocity Vanguard, similar to Quodd Heroes. I mean, these two games are going hand in hand. First of all, I think they're both very similar on a higher note. The actual gameplay is very different, but both of them involve dealing with chaotic madness and trying to figure out how to min-max your way through the chaotic madness by being able to best predict the utilization of chaotic madness. They both have different scenarios tutorials to keep the game fresh so you're never stuck in, well, I figured this out, now I know how to play the game. And both of them have consistently been delayed. Well, consistently is not true, but well, one of them is a relaunch. Velocity Vanguard is a relaunch, and Quodd Heroes is a second edition. I am very excited about Velocity Vanguard. I will hopefully be covering it. We'll see how it goes, but overall, I mean, my biggest complaint is the table space. It's a very, very large game, but the actual components seem like pretty accessible to get up and pull up and set up and whatnot. And the actual puzzle of the game, as you try to figure out how to drift your way through space by adjusting 3-4 turns in advance and then adding the various gear you can get in the various scenarios you have to struggle your way through. The overall puzzle of Velocity Vanguard has me very intrigued, very excited. I hope this one funds. I will be pushing it because I want it to fund so I can get my hands on a copy for my own collection. Then we have in March, we will be having Sleeve Kings premium sleeves. I have been hyping Sleeve Kings for a long time. Hyping is probably the wrong word, but whenever I see a sleeve bundle on a Kickstarter, I'm like, don't pay $50 for that. Pay $15 and get Sleeve Kings instead. Or you could pay $30 and get premium Sleeve Kings instead. I just made up those numbers, ignore me. But this is going to be the premium Sleeve Kings with Fantasy Flight, the sleeve brand or whatever, going out of business. They have Sleeve Kings is replacing them, attempting to be exactly the same as much as possible. So if you are someone who has all your games in Fantasy Flight premium sleeves, they are aiming to give you the exact same thing, the exact same whatever, and they guarantee you, they have a whole thing over here about how they basically guarantee they'll never go out of business. That's not a guarantee anyone can make, just so you know. But I guess more specifically, they guarantee that they will not discontinue their line or something. Basically empty promises, but nonetheless empty promises from a sleeve company that I really, really like. I pitch Sleeve Kings all the time. I still have a shelf full of sleeves and will continue to buy sleeves. I do not know whether I'll be upgrading my sleeves to premium sleeves. That's one's annoying because the amount of games I have that are already sleeved, and I'm still halfway sleeving through my games from the original Mayday sleeves I used to use, and now to upgrade to premium sleeves, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I like the original Sleeve Kings. I think they're pretty solid. But if you want to try the premium sleeves out, by all means, give them a shot. This will be coming to Kickstarter in March, and generally is the best opportunity, the best price to get your hands on a bunch of these sleeves. Next up, this is news I am very excited about. We have coming in March, we have round 2 of Super Fantasy Brawl. This is one I will be covering as well because I am a huge Super Fantasy Brawl fan, and therefore they get to send me stuff because they already know I like it, which is safe. I like you guys, Mythic Games. But anyways, Super Fantasy Brawl is going to be a game that I love. I adore this game. This is like similar to Bloodstone. They actually have a lot of similar notes. They have Bloodstone and Super Fantasy Brawl Round 2. This is going to be bringing 9 new champions. I don't know what else is coming to the table. The game is going to retail, so I don't know what they're going to be offering to make the game appealing. Certainly not game trays in a gigantic overboxed box. I doubt that's what they're going to be offering. But overall, yeah, color me excited. It's more miniatures for a game I already love. I want to see more maps, more scenarios. Give me things that make the puzzle more interesting. Because I mean, I want more heroes, do not get me wrong. And they have a great little trailer. If you can find the trailer, I think they had it on the Facebook page. Watch the trailer. Looks great. More stuff. It's not a game. It's just a video, but you can still get excited if you want, right? So yeah, Super Fantasy Brawl coming back in March with 9 more champions to add to your roster, and I'm interested. And then lastly, and this is not in March, but I'm too excited to not talk about, is The Witcher Old World. This is coming in May 21st, at least as of now, but I don't care. I am breaking my rules because I'm excited about The Witcher. So, The Witcher Old World. I love The Witcher TV series. I was always okay with The Witcher games, and I was disappointed that the one Witcher board game out there is just not that well rated. And here we have Go On Board, who made Titans and Valhalla. Valhalla's already released, pretty decent reviews. Not an amazing game, but pretty decent reviews, all things considered. Titans is a game that I backed. I'm very excited for that one. Sam Healy is why I backed it, because he played it, and he seemed to like it, and that is usually enough for me, because I like Sam Healy and his opinion a lot. But The Witcher Old World is going to be their Kickstarter that's going to be coming, and it has competitive action, adventure, immersive choices. I believe I saw something about deck building. I can't remember the whole thing. If you go to Titans, I'll link to it. If you go to the Titans update, they have the full announcement of all the stuff. Color me very interested, color me very intrigued. Miniatures and things are nice, but ultimately I just want a solid miniatures. I want a solid Witcher board game, and this may well be it. And lastly, if you made it to the end of the video, I do have an active GoFundMe for basically buying a whole bunch of new camera equipment in order to do playthroughs, which basically means I have to get a full second camera, full second lens. Roughly it's $4,500 worth of equipment to actually get this done. I could of course use my phone, but as the channel has grown, I've always made a focus of trying to increase the quality of the video, the audio, all those things to try to make it as good as possible or whatever. And so I do have a GoFundMe in order to raise money for that gear, because basically $4,500 materials and camera equipment is months and months and months of what I get. Well, not months and months and months. Months and months of the work and time I put into it in terms of YouTube ads, Patreon, all that stuff. If you made it this far and you are able to give and want to give, I appreciate it. If you do not, that is totally fine. Me doing donational fundraiser stuff is going to be the exception on this channel. My goal is simultaneously to not rely on, well, GoFundMes and to not rely on publishers. My goal long term is to make this self-sustaining, to make this a full-time thing. I am not in a rush. This is just one where I'm making an exception because I'm trying to buy a lot of camera equipment to start doing the occasional weekly playthrough on the channel. And that is basically everything. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around for the ride. And I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And as always, have a good one. Got you there. This is my Monday video, which means I didn't plan this, I forgot, but since this is replacing our usual should you back, not to back or not to back, I realized in the last 2 minutes that it is incumbent upon me to do a behind the scenes kind of thing, which is what I usually do, because I'm bored. I'm not bored. I don't know what I'm talking about. I like stuff. I like talking and things and people and board games, and I probably should get rid of that giant little stuffed animal up there just constantly staring at you. I don't know why that's in the shot. I'll have to do something about that. But I got no plans. Let's see, what can I talk about for behind the scenes stuff? I have an upcoming video with Rena coming soon. I don't know exactly when because I don't like doing negative videos back to back. I just did top 10 worst games in my collection, which is one that it's not negative because they're games I own, but the title's still negative. I don't want to do negative too often. And so I do have a video coming up with Rena of 10 games 10 games I refuse to play with Alex or some name along those lines. But basically they're games that I like and I own, or we own, I like, but she will not play them with me again. That will probably come up sometime in the next month. I will probably try to do another video with her before then because she hasn't been in a video in a bit, and I like having her on the channel, and we're just busy. Life goes on. So for me, this is all scheduled. For me, this is all, I have it in my mind. I do a daily video, and just go on from there. But when you don't have that scheduled in your mind, it's a little harder to just suddenly 3 weeks go by and you have no clue what happened. So I have that coming up. I don't know. I have a bunch of things coming up. We'll probably have a Should You Back It for Bloodstone. Probably have a Should You Back It for Zombicide. Should have both of those. That really makes sense. We have Bloodstone, Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition. I mean, that's going to be a big Kickstarter. You have to imagine, right? That's going to hit over 1 million. I imagine it's going to be over 1 million. Let's do this. Let's try to do this for the after scenes. Which Kickstarters, let me know in the comments down below, which of the upcoming Kickstarters that I talked about in this video you think will cross 1 million. For me, I believe Bloodstone will cross 1 million. I believe Paladins of the West no, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think Paladins of the West Kingdom is gonna cross 1 million. It's an expansion. You have to require too many people. I think Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition will cross 1 million. I think Zombicide Dead or Alive will cross 1 million. I think Root will cross 1 million. And then let's see, Mythic Battles Ragnarok will cross 1 million. Quodd Heroes no. V-Commandos no. Theurgy no. Super Fantasy Brawl is hard. It's just an expansion. Nope, it's not gonna cross 1 million. And then The Witcher is going to cross 1 million. I think those 6 titles, that's my prediction of which of these 6 titles, which of all the titles I covered today will cross $1 million. And I am very curious to see if I'm right or not, because putting your opinion on camera is a good testament to seeing just how good a call you can make. And that's basically it. We'll end it there. I'm Alex Radcliffe, and as always, thanks for sticking around through the end credits, and have a good one.